I'm Zach.
I'm Riff.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Anita.
And it's time for episode number 344, Video Games Hot Dog, a podcast where we talk about the hot dogs we've eaten recently. XOXO and PAX, sort of. Kevin and I were just PAX adjacent.
That's why we did not record an episode last week.
Right, yeah. And Anita, you were at PAX?
Sorta.
Yeah, also
I
sort
was
of.
PAX adjacent. I went
Also
on the
PAX
show floor for like an hour. Also, I'm Anita Sarkeesian, just my name.
Sure.
I'm a person that does things.
I'll type it everywhere.
Oh, cool. I just, in case people want to know. You don't need to know. I'll take it back. It's fine. I was also PAX adjacent. Went onto the show floor for an hour, and then disappeared.
Was there anything exciting on the show floor?
Games.
Okay.
If you find games exciting.
We can't talk about games yet, guys.
I'd never been to PAX before.
At all?
Really?
Yeah, I don't go because of the politics of PAX. And also, I don't really feel safe there.
Okay.
That
that makes sense. The PAX crowd tends to be relatively okay, I think, but that's maybe just my minor experience in the Indie Mega booth, so maybe, I don't know anything.
I feel like I made this decision years ago at the height of the hatred, but it still doesn't feel like I definitely walk around with friends to make sure I'm not alone at any point. But anyways, I played a few games that were fun. I played some games from friends that I haven't played before. So Patrick Ewing's NeoCab, I played there, which was lovely. I checked out the Goose Game, which was fucking awesome.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's super good. And they had their merch, man, Panic is with it.
Yeah,
their merch is, you can buy their socks, and the end of the socks turn into a sock puppet that is a goose.
Yep, that's pretty
and
good.
It's the best.
Wait, so it works as a sock puppet, but also works as a sock?
Yes.
It has an articulated mouth?
Correct.
Is it like
Well,
toe
you can
socks,
make it.
or is it-
No. You can just stick your hand in it and make it work.
Literally a sock. A sock
I don't know how
puppet
to-
is literally a sock.
I think of a sock puppet as having a bifurcation sewn into it.
No.
Persipholine-
I mean, sock puppets come from socks.
They're just regular
I know
accounts
they're
that people
made
make,
of socks,
and then they
but
pretend to be...
Riff, back me up here. Didn't Syphil and Ollie have you sew a Pac-Man onto the sock?
I think Syphil, I know what you're talking about. I think Syphil and Ollie is the opposite example. I'm pretty sure Syphil and Ollie they were just the toe of the sock were tucked into the guy's hand like the goose sock puppet we're talking about.
I'm going to bring them into the office so that you can experience a sock
I'll
puppet.
understand.
I mean, you could
be...
sew eyes on them and bedazzle them if you want.
But then they would be terrible socks, right? That's the...
Correct. I think you kind of choose if you want a sock or a puppet. I think you got to make a hard choice there.
You don't get to choose between washings?
No, that's true. I guess you could do that.
I would probably wear a puppet on my foot. I don't know that I would puppetize a sock that I'd wear.
Yeah, what is the verb form of puppetry? You wouldn't puppet a sock?
Remember when I asked what your podcast was like?
It's this.
I've got it. I'm good. I can do this.
You figured it out.
Panic's decision to publish Untitled Goose Game is such a genius move, because now they have prestige literature game for adults, and then goofy goose game for dipshits, and so they can just do anything.
It's
from now on
so good though. The game is it's just a delight to play.
My prediction is
I completely failed at the missions that you need to do, and it doesn't matter because it is so enjoyable. Just walking around and fucking with the gardener.
Yep. I think that Panic is going to do just about anything. That's my plan.
They have a good eye for choosing games, I think, and they know how to their booth was lovely. Their press area was inside of a shed because it's a goose game. They're really good with that kind of stuff.
That's super clever.
Yeah, Panic is awesome. Were you at the Were you at that Firewatch sort of
the GDC one? From years ago?
Where they built out
a forest?
They basically made a forest inside a venue here. It
sounded amazing.
It was
really good.
Real good.
Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of Imagineers that work at Panic that are just really good with space design and environmental design.
Yeah. Jake also had a lot to do with that, I think, in the booth stuff.
Cool.
Because he's also he would be an Imagineer in a different life.
Sure.
No, he's just an Imagineering enthusiast.
Jake's one of those guys that I'm always like, what does Jake do? But he brings things together. Jake's a game designer.
He was the beating heart of Campo Santo, and now he is one of several beating hearts of Valve.
Ouch. Well, let's not discuss that.
He is one valve in the beating heart of Valve.
Oh. How about the other game that I played, which was is it Overland? It's being published by Finji. Jesus.
Overland.
Yeah.
Overland. That's it. Finji.
Yeah. Salt
I played a little bit of that. Yeah.
Overland by Kinji, Overland by Finji.
Whatever,
like
man. I don't remember
Shazam
anything.
situation.
I did 2 conferences back to back. My brain's a little fried.
Yeah.
But I played a little bit of that. And, I really don't like turn-based games. It's not my thing. But I could see enjoying this game.
Is there combat in it?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're fighting like weird little monsters. So we saw it a little bit at South by Southwest. They were across the aisle from us, and I had gotten into one of the rounds because they did the weird early access thing where they sold 100 copies of it today or whatever, or 1,000. And so I got it I don't know, year and a half ago, and didn't I bounced off of it pretty quick. But then playing it at South by Southwest was like, wow, this is a lot more fun.
I wonder, was it a demo build that you got if you bought it early, or was it just the?
It was just the build.
game?
It was the build in progress, and I think they just really cleaned up a lot of the interactions and a lot of the UI. It just felt way. It felt more like Into the Breach than it did whatever game it felt like before that was not as good.
I saw it at GDC. I didn't play it, but I saw it being demoed, and the name is so generic to me that I can't ever remember it. I didn't know it was this game that I was like, oh, this looks cool, until I was playing it again and was like, oh, right. And I find that happens with me a lot with games. The names just all blur together and it's hard to pick them apart.
Well, especially in that Firewatch, Overwatch, Overland,
Firelands.
Yeah, there was that 4x4 grid on Twitter that half of the spaces
Titanfall.
were Titanlands, Firefall,
Yeah.
Souls.
Yeah. Dark Souls, Darkfall,
Good.
Dark Watch.
Yeah, then we went to XOXO, which
In
was
Portland.
fantastic.
So that is a conference for artists and creators who make things.
Would you like
on
me
the
to take
internet.
this over?
I would.
It's an arts and tech festival for internet creators.
Okay,
How's that?
that's much better.
Yeah,
fast.
you're welcome. I've had to explain it to a lot of people,
Have
and so
you?
I've been able to distill it down to that.
Well, I have explained it to people by texting them a link to the Wikipedia article about it.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
The fact that you only communicate to people via text is a little strange.
and in the subset of that only through Wikipedia.
Did you
links.
read the Wikipedia article ahead of time to determine whether it was actually accurate?
Well, I would say I did, and I would say that it was accurate but not very helpful.
Wow. Wow.
So
you sent them, you're just sending them on
yeah, I'm like, here's whatever.
some misinformation.
I don't care to explain this or not deliberately mislead you about it.
EXO is delightful. We'd all been several times before, I think, and this year was very different because it was so much bigger than historically. But one thing that I love about let me start that again. One thing I loved about this year is that usually they have arcade night, which are video games, and then they have tabletop, which are tabletop games, and they're each one night, and they're also competing with other programming. But because they had an increased space and increased capacity, both of those ran for 2 nights, so there was a lot more opportunity to check them out. And it's such a wonderfully curated set of games that I like to spend more time in that space. So that was nice.
It's good. It was in a basketball stadium.
Well, it was in a coliseum.
A hockey stadium, the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. It was where the veterans play hockey against each other to compete for benefits.
It's like
Jeez.
death matches.
But yeah, they had a ton of space, and it was all real weird. The tabletop room, you had to go through this real lounge, 70s loungy ass room that was all wood paneled, and
There were all these weird tables and cabinets with books.
weird
on
pieces
them
of
and
furniture
stuff.
with
Yeah,
books.
what was
Yeah.
that? Did they put that room together?
No, that's just part of the Coliseum.
I
It's
thought
just,
What do
was
they do in there
part of an
traditionally?
ARG.
that's where all of the secret Mason meetings take place during the hockey games. I don't-
That's got to be it.
Right, because no one can hear the rituals while there's a crowd.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's true. The Zamboni covers their their chants. Yeah.
But there was one tabletop game that I really liked called Quest, which is it's a very reduced, simplified version of D&D, where most of the math is stripped out of it, and it's a really easy way for people to come into like pen and paper games or role playing games. And I thought it was really delightful as someone who's very new to D&D.
Roll dice and things.
There's one dice. There's a 120. There's a D20 dice, and then you have like there are set rolls, and you pick your roll, and it comes with a set of spells or actions that you can take. So it's already sort of pre-laid out. You don't have to do like character creation, but there is still the freedom to role play as you would. So if you're like the doctor, you get to name the doctor, you get to determine like how the doctor acts or whatever. But yeah, as someone who's very new to D&D this year and like it can be really overwhelming. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Why has this not been, I mean, it may have been done before, but I didn't see it. So
there was, speaking of that, at sort of ancillary to XOXO, there was this charity D&D event that one of the guys from the Decemberists put on in his crazy indoor skate park.
What?
It's a weird space.
So this is like a Chicago charity that they did an instantiation of in Portland, right? This
Okay, Level Eaters, which that's a real bad name in terms of meaning anything about anything. But the way that it worked, there was this sort of weird like, all right, they wanted to sell maybe 100 tickets to it, and I would say that there were maybe 70 or 60 or 70 people playing. And so everybody was at different tables, and everyone was playing the same set of characters and choosing from a sort of a menu of quests. And the idea was that there's this great evil descending on this city, and we have to prepare to fight against it. And the more, like, you're all different sort of parallel realities of this city, and the more people do the quests, the more points you get to determine whether you win at the end. And
did they renormalize it for the smaller crowd?
Yes.
Okay.
They must have.
it's also a fundraiser too. Like
Yeah.
It's a fundraiser, and they have like, celebrity DMs, and you get to pay more to be in their group.
You could pay twice as much to, like, Keith Baker ran one of the tables, and Patrick Rothfuss ran one of them, and then third celebrity I had never heard of.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was either.
I think it might be somebody who's like important in the D&D. Because I mean, that's kind of
roll your eyes.
No, that's kind of where Keith Baker, right? Like, Keith Baker is well known in like Dungeons and Dragons circles and board game circles, but not. I don't know. Patrick Rothfuss feels like a slightly higher tier category of celebrity for that. So I was hoping to get at Keith's table because I've never actually. He did a thing that he described to us once where he just spent like a year driving around, and he was like, all right, anybody who wants to let me stay at your house, I will run D&D for you while I'm at your house. And so he just like couch surfed dungeon mastering for fans all over the country on this just like crazy long road trip.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seemed pretty good. He's such a good dude.
I would imagine he would be a very good DM. I love Illimat.
Oh yeah, he taught you were games. Yeah, it was the three of us that he taught to play Illimat during the Joko cruise at that like weird bar in Mexico.
Yeah, that's true. That did definitely happen. I love that game. I saw it early at XOXO. Actually, is where I met Keith the few years previous, and he's delightful. He'd be a great DM. Yeah.
And I think he is also like affiliated with the Decemberists because he made Illimat through that collaboration with the Decemberists. And so that's anyway, it was cool.
He's also known for Gloom.
Oh yeah,
as well, which was a pretty popular.
And he made the like Eberron D&D setting, which
he also made something called Phoenix or something, which is another tabletop thing that has something to do with like when you die, you don't die, you come back. I didn't play it.
I bought that. Yeah, I backed the Kickstarter because I'll just like buy whatever he does, but it's still just like sitting on my shelf unopened because I don't even know what it is. It's like, is this thing you play by yourself with other friends? I don't know.
I believe it is. Yes, you play with other people.
It's one of those two things.
It's one of those two things. Yeah.
Neither of them works for me.
You can't stand to be by yourself with friends.
I am constantly surrounded by people that I don't like, so I can't play it with friends or by myself. But the
Welcome to our podcast.
Yes,
it was
well,
there was like 4 hours to play Dungeons and Dragons, which seems
that-
like a really long
that
time
event.
to sign up for an event, but then it's not actually a long time.
It's not. Whoa. Like, I didn't know what it was when I got into it. And I'm like, oh, we're going to play for 5 hours and move 2 minutes in the game? Are you, what? And like, I finally learned to stop asking 5,000 questions to slow everything down so that we can like actually progress. But that took me a little getting used to.
I was a little worried because it was like we're going to try to get through like 4 or 5 of these quests in 4 hours. I'm like, we kept picking the like non-combat ones where it's like mostly just like solve a couple riddles and then you finish it. And the DMs that were running it were like very much like moving it along and preventing people from getting like tied up in the minutia. But like people invariably want a little bit of that. So it's like, let's spend a bunch of time doing math collaboratively. And I'm just like, I'm looking at my clock. Give us some riddles. Give me the riddles and puzzles. That's what I want.
I sat in on a friend's D&D game in Seattle. I'm so hooked now. I bought a mini from Heroes Forge, like for my character. And I'm like, my friend is making me like a dice tower.
Out of parts?
What?
Is Hero Forge the thing where you custom make a character out of little parts and they 3D print it for you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's super cool.
What's your character like?
Her name is Rhyme. And she is Ryme.
Okay.
And she is an Ald, which in this. So my DM created a whole sci-fi world. She's an Ald, which means that like you don't really know where you came from, you don't know your lineage, and you don't really remember childhood. You're just kind of an adult. But an Ald can be any species. So all of the alien species have their versions of an Ald. So I'm a human Ald, so I have like metal pieces on me, and I'm a druid, but that means that I can talk to technology instead of talking to animals in this world. Yeah.
cool.
So like I couldn't quite get like in Heroes Forge, it was sort of limited. I say that in quotes because there's so many options, but because this is a drastically new, entirely world, I couldn't quite get what I wanted. But my character does have a mohawk with ports out of ports. So now like designing the mini gave me so many more ideas about like what I can do as a character in the world. So that was kind of cool. But anyways, I'm getting all hooked. And so I guessed it in a friend's game and I was like, oh, like this is what traditional D&D feels like. And also this is super fun too. So now I'm like, let me play all of your D&D games because I'm getting really into this.
Did you play Jen Sandercock's Taste Bud is Blind?
I didn't want to eat food.
I didn't either.
Which apparently you can do it without eating it.
Yeah, but
You could like spit it out.
no,
well, I think
no,
you can
just
choose
not
for
be
other
the-
people. Do you want to explain what the game is?
Kevin should explain how. what
Yeah,
the
this
game is.
needs an explanation now.
So
So hold on, let me just say, Jen Sandercock is a game designer who started doing edible food games.
Yes.
Also, if you listen to my podcast, Feminist Frequency Radio, we have an interview with her coming up. But she does these really cool, and they're all kind of all over the map. And so she created a cookbook of edible games that you can pre-order now, and she does all these cool little things. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, there were 2 variants of it. One was with food, and one was with beverages.
She was referring to them as the solids version and the liquids version.
Wow.
And we were like, Jen, you have to stop saying solids in describing food. No one is gonna. She's like, what? Beverage?
solids.
She considers beverages to be food. Like food is an all-encompassing term that includes beverages. But she's Australian, so they don't know what words mean.
I mean, we do that in KOL.
I guess that's true. Yeah, but
wow, you got called out.
yeah, I
dude.
know. I got.
Your stomach is where all of food and beverages go. Whereas
That's true. But booze, I would say that in the real world, booze is beverages. I think that there was supposed to be a food version of Jen's game and a booze version of Jen's game, but they weren't allowed to have booze in the.
she suggested
There's no champagne in the
bringing
sex
your
room,
own,
and they set
and
up
I
the
don't know
games
what that
in
would
the-
have meant because it would have changed the game pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
But so the way that it worked, at least I only played the beverage version of it. There were a set of ingredients in the middle of the table, and one person would be designated as the judge or the taster.
The taste bud.
The taste bud.
Yeah,
So it's-
there's a blindfold labeled taste bud.
Oh yeah. So then there's it is similar to the games like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, where one person is sort of asymmetric in that one person is going to be making a bunch of judgments and the other people are going to be composing things for that person. And so the person who's going to be tasting things can sort of veto ingredients that they don't want to be part of it because they're allergic or don't like them or whatever.
Like no pickle juice, no vinegar this time.
Yeah. And so then they put their blindfold on and silently the other people decide what things are going to be available as sort of a palette of ingredients. And so in our group, there were 4 people and the palette is supposed to be 6 ingredients. And so everybody would just choose one and then we would sort of silently sort of just come to a consensus on the remaining ones. And then you can make a drink or I guess a bowl of food.
The drinks were in like little communion plastic cups.
Yeah.
The food one, the taste bud also selects a base, which is either like a Dorito or an animal cracker or some celery or a rice cracker.
Okay.
Or a fifth thing that I don't remember what it was.
All right. And so then you sort of concoct a mixture of those things, and as a non-taste bud, you concoct a mixture, and then you present it to the blindfolded player, and they then taste all of them and rank them from the thing that they like the most to the thing that they like the least. And the more ingredients that you use, the number of ingredients that you use is then multiplied by a sort of scoring factor, which is like if this was the best thing, you get a high multiplier, and if it was the least favorite thing, it would be multiplied by 0.
Points,
yeah, you get 0.
This game is so different from the game of hers that I played, because at GDC she was showing Patisserie Code, which is like an escape room style game, right? Where you're solving puzzles and like your cream puff is a part of the code and the evidence that you're right, like completely different.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating to see how many different things she's doing with
and
food.
her thing that we saw at IndieCade a couple of years ago was just like sort of a straight up board game where you're just eating the pieces and sliding them back in to fill the space.
Yeah, they're super wide diversity of game options, it seems like.
I think everyone went into Taste Bud is Blind thinking, the beverage one is going to be the one to do, but then everyone left thinking, the food one was actually way, way more interesting than the beverage one. I'm sad that you didn't get a chance to do the food one, because you end up eating some really gross shit, but like, it's not in anybody's best interest to try to like feed you something gross unless they're just like trying not to win. But sometimes it's like, well, I'm going to try, like, people have picked a weird set of ingredients, so I'm going to see what like an animal cracker with some easy cheese and some pepper on it tastes like. And like, you don't know it's terrible until Andrew Sedodal eats it winces and then is mad at you for the rest of the conference.
It feels like a thing where when you're making food or drinks for strangers, you're really, it's sort of a crapshoot about what they do or do not like.
Yeah, that's a much different dynamic if you're playing with strangers.
Yeah.
It's also weird to put on a blindfold in a crowded room and then sit there and wait for a bunch of other people to put some food in your mouth or like in front of you. It's like, wow, I would not do this at a lot of events. Like the fact that I just sort of inherently trust everyone at XOXO to not, I don't know, here's a used sock puppet that I like.
Okay, but if it's a used sock puppet, does that mean it's used as a puppet or used as a sock?
It's been used as a sock puppet, but all the sock puppet was doing was picking up dirty socks and putting them in piles. So, but yeah, I'm excited. Like, I backed the Kickstarter for Jen's cookbook because I think it's cool and she's great and I wanted it to be a thing that existed, but believed that I would probably never actually make or play any of the games in it. But this is like a thing that I would do at a party with normal people. Like, it's fun and it's pretty easy to set up. All you need is like a bunch of different little containers of like chocolate chips and ketchup. And like,
it sounds like a cool way to like do something different at your party. Right, or like to impress your friends
at a party. Well, sort of not a designed party, but we happened to have a bunch of people over once. We actually played a game like that, except it was much more straightforward. We dug out every kind of booze and every possible theoretical mixer we had, and the only rule was you could mix anything you wanted and everybody had to taste it, but you had to drink the rest of it yourself.
Huh.
So there were some bad combinations.
Oof.
That's clever. Somebody, I wish that I could remember. We were describing this game to somebody, and they said, "Oh, that reminds me of a baby shower game." And I immediately thought, "Oh God, is this that thing where they melt different candy bars onto a diaper,
God.
and you have to eat it and try to figure out what kind of candy bar it was?" Because that is awful. And it wasn't that, but I don't remember what it actually was. And so this story was mainly for me to bring up that diaper thing.
Wait, you don't want to eat melted chocolate and pretend it's shit on a diaper? That's not appealing to you?
Honestly, I don't mind it. It's like I wouldn't want
Kevin's
to.
face right now.
So right,
good.
you have all been to the Exploratorium, right? Except for Riff, probably.
Yeah.
At the Exploratorium, there is a drinking fountain that is just a toilet with a drinking
urinal,
fountain
right?
in it. No, it's an actual
That's a
toilet.
toilet.
It's an actual toilet bowl with a drinking fountain nozzle on the rim, and it was like, "Do you dare to drink out of this?" Most people don't. Like, the fuck? Like, yes, of course. Like, it's.
What happens
It's
when
psychological.
Well,
more
when
than
you see
anything, right?
people walking by and just peeing in it.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
That is less psychological and more
I mean,
logical.
to be fair, I like most places I go, I pee in the drinking fountain, so it's like this is just quid pro quo for me.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the question: if it was instead of that, it was a kitchen sink, would you feel comfortable drinking out of that?
Oh man. So yeah, that diaper thing is not actually that revolting, I don't think, because
it's
just,
not. It's
you know
just dumb.
melted
I
candy,
hate
but-
those fucking games. I went to a baby shower not that long ago and was so relieved that the party games were not
Were
the
there party
total
games?
dumbest thing I've ever seen.
What was it? Pin the diaper on the.
No, it was like
donkey?
there's a diaper bag full of stuff, and you get to you have to guess what's inside of it.
Okay.
It's harmless, right? It's like that kind of thing. There's
like
some,
by feeling around, like
yeah, but
or
you can only
like,
feel on the
there's-
outside.
Like,
it
here's
was
a
really
bag. Guess what's in it? Like, this is not a very good game.
It's
guys.
not. It wasn't. It really wasn't.
does
The
he
best
have in his
part was
pockets?
Ebony just writing a list of really funny things, like unicorn hair and nipple clamps. I don't know. It was funny. Ebony's much funnier than that. So that was the part that I enjoyed, was me and my friend being like,
trolling
This,
the
yeah,
game.
this-
Playing,
definitely.
Yeah,
Like-
playing your own game in the context of a different game.
there was another one where it was a bunch of jars of baby food and you had to guess which they were, but all of them look like orange mush, so it's really hard to tell them apart.
That was the one. That was the actual thing that the person telling the story
Oh.
was talking about.
That makes
Nice.
sense, actually.
We
and
got
it's
there.
kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it is also weird to, like, playing that is sort of like, the experience of when you pick up a glass and you think it's water and it's actually milk and it just tastes like the worst thing in the world for a second. This is also just that, except it's not bad. It's just, you're like kind of on edge. So even stuff that tastes kind of bad is like, oh, weird. What is this? Somebody gave me,
When you were playing the game.
yeah,
Okay.
I ate it and I was like, was that just an animal cracker with a raisin on it? And no, what it in fact was an animal cracker with a marshmallow slathered in Vegemite on
Wow.
it. But it just tasted like
That
a
is so
raisin
Australian.
to me.
Weird.
And yeah, everybody, I said, is that that? And everybody just laughed because I feel like they were waiting for me to go like, blah, blah, blah. I was like,
Do you have to
raisin.
guess what it is?
No, but it's more fun if you do.
Yeah.
Like if you talk about it. And also what we found was it's very hard to like keep track in your head of like, oh, these 5 things that I just ate in a row. Now I'm going to rank them in order. So we just started doing like a running total. It's like, eat the first one. Well, that's the best one so far. And the worst one. Everyone joked. And then you eat the second one. And it's like, all right, that's better than the first one. And then you eat the third one. It's like, all right, order's now 3, 1, 2 or whatever. Like,
So with the drinking one, we often would do 2 or 3 rounds, so you could really compare them.
Well, because you could sip more easily because these were pretty small and you kind of had to eat the whole thing at once. So
yeah, it was also the only rules issue that I had was that there was no specification about how much of anything you had to use. So you could just put a drop of something in there, and then that counted as an extra ingredient for you. And I was like, is that really an ingredient?
That seems like a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, exactly.
well, you should post that publicly on the forum about the game.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, what a delight that was.
Yeah. Jen, I love Jen's games. I have yet to not enjoy one of the games that I have played that she's made.
My favorite game of the year so far was there, which is Kids by Playables.
It was
which is also my nail art. I actually took a photo of the game to a nail artist and was like, put these on my nails.
Do you have a good picture of it? We could put it in our show
I'll send it to you.
notes.
How do you play that game? It's
on
hard
an
to tell
iPad,
from looking. Oh
and
no,
you
I mean,
touch it.
like, what do you do?
You touch an iPad.
There's
Do you know this technology?
there's
touch
a lot
screens?
of there's
It's a bunch
lot
of playful experiences.
It's so the game is these little black outlined figures
kind
and
of Keith Haring looking.
kinda yeah and the game is about group dynamics. So you touch them and like they'll fall into a hole and you'll other ones you sort of veer off, like they're all walking and you veer them off the path. There's a new thing that they added in this build, which is these like birthing things where they're like going through these tubes. It's very
Oh, right. I saw a bunch of like,
Textual.
just like, it looked like the player was in control of like the peristalsis of like a weird intestine that little
that is
people were being
exactly it.
squozen
It was
down.
awesome. So you're just moving through these different sorts of experiences with these characters, and I just find it so delightful and interesting, and it's just I love it.
There was another game being shown there called
Nour.
Nour,
N-O-U-R,
which I think that the controller was like a 4x4 grid of lit up buttons that also had a tilt sensor in it, but it was just these extremely high res rendered scenes where there's like a glass and like maybe one button pours some liquid into it and one puts a sprig of rosemary and one drops a lemon wedge and you just hammer on it and just end up with this pile of shit bouncing around.
Yeah,
this
it's
beverage.
basically a game where you play with your food. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Noor is the word for food in Farsi.
Wow.
I might be making that up, but I'm pretty sure it is. So the last time I saw it, it was not that beautifully rendered. Like it looks amazing.
It is crazy how good it looked.
Yeah.
It was blown up. It was blown up on a giant projection screen, and we'd heard people saying, like, there were some of the people who were exhibiting there that were like, fuck, we did not know our game was going to be on a screen this big. This does not look good.
Yeah.
But this one was insane. It was like striking how good.
It worked so well in that environment. And also like, so one of the ones that is like one of the more popular ones is, ramen. You have like a bowl of ramen and you're playing these huge cuts of meat that just fall and everything falls. And, it's really lovely.
There's like a breakfast table one where you can just like, let's drop 400 pancakes on this table and see what happens.
Yeah.
And they all just bounce around.
Did you all see the game in the far corner where it's like it's cubicles and so you're working, so you have to like type emails as fast as you can, and then you have to like go
It's just sort of
file
like you
papers.
just hammer on the keyboard, right? Like it's not, you don't actually type anything.
It's hacker typer.
Yeah,
but-
nice.
Yeah, but then there's like literally like it's literally cubicles with 4 people in them, and there's a phone, and there's like a filing cabinet off to the side, and I don't know what the fuck was happening there, but it was fascinating to watch.
Did you play it?
I didn't. I just watched people.
You saw
play it,
people
and
play it.
I was super into it. There's like fake sort of instant messages between the people who are playing, and people are like requesting objects, and you have to find them in they're in the separate little cubicles and hand them to people. And I don't know if there's a score or not.
Yeah, I'm bummed I didn't play it
It seems
because
like it'd
it's
be
something
hard
that you could only
hard to
play
track.
in a space like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. It's sort of
It's
an
so
installation
physical. Yeah.
thing. It's so good. I forget what it was called. It was like workload or busy work. Busy work
that makes sense. Yeah.
We played, Kevin and I played a game, this co-op platformer game called Piku Niku, which is like a weird, you are these little like ovoid guys. It's really cute that just have 2 legs, and it's kind of physicsy in the sense of like you'll move and they'll run, but it like matters where their legs are. So they don't quite stabilize until they get their legs back under them. So it's like very slightly awkward. And you have a button to like kick, which projects a bunch of force in one direction. And so a lot of the puzzles are like somebody has to like, one of you has to get on top of the other and then kick downward to like propel off of, although I don't know why you couldn't do that off the ground. I think that is not actually true. I think the bottom one has to kick, or you have to jump and then the other guy jumps off the top of you or whatever. And there's just a lot of
Why
like,
is it got to be a guy?
get this thing onto the, yeah, you're right. get this thing onto this button to release a ball that lands on another button that releases the exit. And then you get on a boat and you sail away. And that's the end of the level.
Yeah.
I remember it being really cute. I didn't play it, but like the leg animations were really well done.
Yeah, it's very like a Sesame Street cartoon or something. Like,
Yeah.
And apparently, Alan Hazelden was saying that the single player part of it is way more sort of lush and cute, and there's more like sort of more characters to interact with and stuff. These were very much like an N+ puzzle or something, like very kind of stark geometric environments with just like here's a button and here's a crate and here's some spikes or whatever. That that was a lot of fun. We're talking about so many games on this episode of Video Games Hot Dog. This is uncharacteristic.
How dare us?
Well,
I could talk about a comic if you want instead.
I'm still waiting for the hot dog talk, but
We'll get there. We'll get there, I swear. I was given a couple of issues of this comic called Incredible Doom. It's sort of a comic by Matthew Bogart and Jesse Holden, which is about sort of teens in the 90s making bad decisions on the early sort of internet. It
sounds amazing.
It's really, really good. I read through all 4 of the issues today, actually. And I'm looking forward. I think it's going to be a like 9 or 12 part thing in the fullness of time. But I'm super into it. There's some online present. You can go to incredibledoom.com. I think all of the issues are online if you want to just read it there. But the physical copies are really cool because each one has a little sort of physical artifact from the story. It's sort of in the back of it, which is it's good. It's very solid. But then everything else I have to talk about is games. So
makes sense, I guess. What have you been up to, Riff?
Nothing notable. Just games.
2 entire weeks.
2 weeks, right?
2 entire weeks, and you've done nothing interesting?
I have been even more focused on video games these last 2 weeks than usual. So
wow, that's something.
Yeah,
you finished a couple games in this.
I did.
This
I blew through a couple of games this week. These 2 weeks.
Well, what games were they?
Yeah, what were they, Riff?
I finished La Mulana 2 after roughly 152 hours.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. No, it was 152 hours and 46 pages of notes and maps.
Wow.
46?
Publish them online.
I'd have to scan them all. But yeah, it was
scan them all.
They were A5 size, so in American terms it was like 23 pages. But
what's what?
Yeah, what?
That's a standard sheet of paper, I think, right?
What is A5?
8.5 by 11.
It's A4 is very nearly 8.5 by 11, and then A5 is half of that.
So, I confused those.
So 5 is half of 4?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Also, A is half of A.
Good. So what'd you think of La Mulana 2? You loved it?
It was pretty good. It was, I think, despite their apparent intention that it would not be as difficult as the first one, it ended up being a little bit more difficult than the first one, because although the clues to the puzzles were a little less opaque, the game world is a little bit larger and more open, so it's a little bit less obvious what you're supposed to be doing at any given time. So it was frequent that there would be like 3 or 4 different things I was aware of that I needed to get done, but had no information on which one of them was bottlenecking all of the others. So it becomes very easy to get stuck trying to solve something that you can't actually get the last bit of it because you haven't done one of the other things yet.
That's like an aggravation in any form that it comes in.
Yeah.
Can you, I feel like I've asked this exact question several times, but you have 1,000 inventory items and you have to figure out which one to use in which spot, or
there's a little bit of any of that. There's there's a few inventory items that you can set in, like you have your 3 like active inventory slots are a thing that you can hold up and a weapon and then like a sub weapon, which is like a throwing star or whatever. And so the thing that you can hold up might be like a
bank.
It might be like a scanner that you can use to read some writing on a wall, or to identify a mural that you're standing in front of that's actually there in the background, or act in a particular way, or
if you hold it up in front of Raiders of the Lost Ark, you'll realize that it's actually better than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Contentious viewpoint.
But
okay, so and then how many things are there that you can hold up? Like 100,000, or
there's maybe like maybe 6 or 8 of them that are actually parts of puzzles rather than just being devices like the scanner.
I see. Are there any that are just for fun? Like you can just hold up a watermelon?
Yeah, unfortunately there isn't a fried egg character, but I have to assume
I feel like I
would be
just
the
am
case.
getting a really good insight into how Zach's brain works just in this very small period of time.
But like,
what else you play, Riff?
keep
Going, buddy.
The main way that the puzzles articulate in this, because like, yeah, you did ask me like about this in a previous show, but I feel like the example I gave was really shitty. But like, imagine there's a bunch of little stone tablets everywhere that give you like the clues for all the various puzzles, and it might be something like, one of these tablets tells you a little bit of something about a mythological figure, and maybe says like, you know, he is the keeper of the ancient power of whatever. And then another tablet you might find might say something else about an unnamed mythological figure who was particularly weak to, I don't know, being stabbed in the ass or whatever. And then maybe there's a third tablet that gives you some information that lets you connect the first 2 tablets and realize that the guy that they were talking about in the second tablet was actually the first guy as well. And so maybe, and if that third tablet mentions that he was a chariot driver, then maybe you put all this information together and remember that you saw a statue somewhere of a guy driving a chariot. And so if you then
with an unarmored ass,
with an unstabbed ass,
so then you go back to wherever that is and attack the statue's ass.
Hold up the ass knife. Yeah.
and then a secret door opens or whatever. And it's mainly that sort of thing. But yeah,
why did his mother dip him in the river Styx by his ass? There's like not even a good place to hold someone.
There is literally the river Styx is actually in the game. It uses like basically every mythology, every pantheon that they could think of is a different area of the game. Like are different, often different bad guys from these mythologies and so on. So it's pretty interesting in that regard.
Speaking of dark ritual baptisms, we should mention that the reason that Jim Crawford is not on today's episode is because his child, Winston Zeddemore Ghostbuster, was born a couple days ago, and he's very sleepy. No, it was actually when you said the word river, I was reminded that his child, Winston River Storm Dancer, was born and is very cute.
You're just totally outing this baby, and now...
If Instagram is to be believed, the baby is cute as fuck.
It's a pretty good looking baby.
Instagram makes everything look good, though.
I am kind of one of those misanthropes that doesn't think babies are cute, but as babies go, that is the least ugly baby I've seen.
I'll let him know you said that. No, he'll listen.
I don't think he'll listen.
He'll listen.
He won't. He doesn't have time.
April will listen and then say, "Just listen to what this asshole said about our baby." It is now your responsibility to kick Riff's ass.
Ghostbuster.
Yeah. Yes. What other game did you finish, Riff?
I played through all of Abduction.
Oh.
Like,
wow. Did you solve all the puzzles and
yep. Straight through.
Did the surrealistic adventure become your world?
Yeah, it was. I did not expect to get that into it that quickly. I was doing it as since Jenny's out of commission, I was doing it as a substitute game to fill in for our YouTube stuff. So I was figuring I'd play it like an hour a week just to post the videos. But I super got into it and just played it straight through, basically.
Did you stream the entire thing?
I didn't stream it, but I recorded the entire thing, so it's going to be going up on YouTube, like half-hour episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next 3 months.
Do you edit these videos?
No, I try and specifically pick games that I won't feel the need to edit.
Do you? And you don't broadcast them live. So like,
Right.
Why have you made that choice instead of streaming?
Because I don't feel like there's any advantage to streaming it live, if anyway, then why stream?
Okay.
Basically.
Sure.
And I think the setup that Jenny and I usually use with Skype would probably not be compatible anyway. But
With streaming.
yeah.
Sure.
What are you're still playing that Tingle game together?
Yeah, we beat it, but we were going back through to finish all of the optional side stuff, because that was where some of the weirdest stuff in that game happens.
Is this a Chuck Tingle game?
No, it's a Tingle Tangle Kulu Limpa
Yeah.
game.
Dude from Zelda.
Oh, that Tingle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why are they named so weird, Riff? I mean, this is a real question.
I don't
like
know.
this was Ripened Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love.
Yeah.
And then
Is the name of the game?
Yeah. They just refer to him as ripened. That's the adjective that's used in the title of the game. And what's the other one?
Is it a translation thing?
It can't be,
Does
right?
ripen
Like
mean something in Japanese?
the others are so weird that I feel like it's deliberate, but I can't think of any of them.
I can't remember what the other one is.
Are there only 2 Tingle games?
That I'm aware of. The other one is crazy because you have to not barter, haggle. You have to haggle with everybody. You finish a quest for a guy and he goes, "All right, I'll reward you. How much of a reward are you expecting?" And if you ask for too much, you get nothing. So it's the most
It's like
harrowing
life.
game.
But after you've already done it, I feel like
It's like life.
Yeah.
It's like
you don't get if you do a job and then quote, you should be quoting before you do the job.
that's true. You're a bad freelancer. But also sometimes you have to like do a bunch of work to get the job, and then you
that's
don't get
true.
the job if you don't.
Okay, that's
I
a
was,
good point.
I was trying to make a joke, but this got real.
No, yeah, well, because this is people undervaluing their work is a serious problem.
Yeah.
People overvaluing their work, I guess, might be a problem.
Only for white dudes.
I had a thing happen the other day that I did not in a million years expect to have happen, which is that I had a contractor do some work on my house here, and when he came back with the final bill, it was half of the original estimate.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that doesn't
the
make
final bill
any
was like,
sense.
yeah, this didn't cost anywhere near as much as I thought it was going to. Here you go. Like, here's your bill, and it
Yeah,
was
keep
like
that contractor for life.
$5,000 instead of $11,000. It like crazy.
That's
Bleh.
weird.
Real good steps. If you come over to my house, you should just walk up and down the front steps and notice how they're not all spongy and rotten.
You've taken steps to make your house better?
I have. I've taken steps to make my house better.
God.
Anyway, it was very cheap. Yeah, JB Builders. If you're
Oh, wow. So it's like some advertising.
Yeah.
Word of mouth.
what have you been playing, Kevin?
Well, so besides the stuff at the festival, I have played a couple of things. I played about 10 minutes of Twitter Teaches Typing, which is a new Zach Gage game.
I love his
It's
games.
interesting.
Yeah?
I'm not a super fast typer, I guess. I find it especially difficult to type in a sort of typing tutor game where I have to match other people's
mistakes.
So
it's like a typing.
stuff.
Wow. So that's what the game is. It's just like
ripping
gives you a
stuff
random
from
tweet and you have to type it.
tweets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
It's it's
Does
rough.
it like filter for like?
It does not.
Just teach you how to type slurs real fast.
Profanity immediately. A bunch of stuff about people hoping that they get out of the path of the hurricane. I was like, this has to be real because
it's actually pulling from Twitter.
Fascinating.
Yeah. That sounds very Zach.
Yeah.
He did that art installation that like
Glacier
does
or whatever.
like the e-paper thing that just starts a question and then does the Google.
Did you see it?
I have never seen it.
I saw
real
it when
life.
it was showing in New York. It was really cool. So the idea is that he did like the autocomplete on Google searches. So how to, and then every day it would refresh the top ones. And so some of them never changed and some of them did. So the installation could be different every day. Very, very interesting.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's actually connected to the internet, so it's actually updating sort of in real time.
Yeah.
I feel like I've only seen like he posts photos of it to Twitter when it does something particularly interesting. I didn't know where it was. That's good though.
I played a relatively new Aaron Steed game, which is not a turn-based platformer.
Is it Tapioca Rider?
It is Tapioca Rider.
Tapioca Rider is pretty good.
It's really good. It's like desert golf or desert golfing.
But you're like driving a go-kart.
It's a go-kart.
Yeah. Why is it called Tapioca Rider?
I don't know. So it reminded me a little bit of Line Rider, maybe.
Okay.
But then I was trying to figure out how Tapioca and Line could be substituted for each other. I don't know. Maybe you're a little tiny car riding through Tapioca. Maybe it's a bowl of Tapioca.
But Tapioca
is white.
Error in your life.
Well, you've never had Tapioca?
No, he's never had boba.
Probably not.
But boba is brown.
Okay.
And it's tapioca balls.
Okay.
Have you ever had rice pudding?
Not really.
That's not tapioca, although you can have
It's
tapioca pudding.
A lot like rice pudding, though. I feel like tapioca and rice pudding are almost exactly the same thing.
But no,
kind of
okay, but
rice or
tapioca,
something?
no.
Is it?
Tapioca pudding is a lot like rice pudding, but tapioca
I
and
see.
rice, while are both kind of
tapioca a
starchy.
grain?
Is tapioca starchy?
Is tapioca?
I think it's a starch.
Is Tapioca like...
Tapioca doesn't sound like a word anymore because we've said it too many times. Maybe that's why the game is called this.
Is it a sweet potato to... Is tapioca to sweet potatoes like rice is to potatoes?
Wow, buddy.
You mean like is tapioca like a grain that's just naturally like marshmallows?
Yep.
What?
I don't know.
Yes, it is a starch. Man, I'm the best. Tapioca
Okay.
is a starch extracted from cassava root.
Okay. So
And
it
so
is
this is the
kind of
pudding
like
that he was
a
talking about.
Sweet potato.
Now that's the pudding I was talking about.
That is the pudding you were talking about. And there was a picture of the thing. And then that's what boba balls look like.
And people put this in a beverage?
Dude, have you never had boba? Have we never in all
Is
the
that
years?
the thing that's like orbits?
I was just gonna
Yes.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Stuff was
With a
Except-
really thick straw because you have to, or really
Yeah, 'cause you
wide
need a-
straw,
yeah.
'cause you've
Yeah,
got
they're against
And
the
it-
law in San Francisco now, so every boba place is going to go out of business.
Shut up. No, it's not. Straws are
plastic
against the law.
straws in San Francisco.
They've
Are you
outlawed,
serious?
Yeah, they've outlawed plastic straws in San Francisco.
Are you fucking with me right now?
No, it's paper straws everywhere. I'm
glad I'm leaving this damn city.
It's a bad scene.
That's going to solve all of the problems
Yeah,
of climate
yeah.
change. Also, charging for plastic bags is also going to solve problems. Like, shut
Mm-hmm.
the fuck up. I hate this shit. Anyways,
Yep.
I have lots of feelings about this. But how are you going to drink how are you going to have boba without plastic straws?
Yeah, you're not, that's the chief concern of the Boba Alliance.
I should be a member because I am outraged. Also, fun fact, I have like 100 boba straws in my house, so I'm just going to carry those with
nice.
me. Because I would make it at home sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I was on an internet date, and the
You're
woman
dating the
pulled
internet.
out
Not a regular date. It has to
bamboo straw,
Wow.
and I was
like
like,
a sheath
"Oh,
of
huh,
a
wow, you're
boot.
really like you're prepared for this like straw bass." And like 8 different people walked up and were like, "That is awesome. Where did you get that? I want one of those. This is great."
I am not carrying a straw with me everywhere.
Yeah.
Also, I don't use straws very often. I
Yep.
don't drink a
Yeah.
lot of different kinds of beverages that involve straws, but still, I'm not Dude, just let's...
People were very excited about the bamboo straw. Like that was the like. It's like okay, fine.
Have you used a paper straw?
They're fucking terrible.
It's gross.
They're bad. I hate them. I don't like drinking out of plastic, and I don't like consuming beverages.
So they're probably
going
to make straws out of the corn that they make the plastic biodegradable forks and knives and utensils from, which is also really bad for the environment because we have a problem with monocropping corn in this fucking country, and that destroys topsoil. It's a whole thing.
So you can just eat the straw when you're done, though? What if the straw was made of tapioca? Like the hard kind of tapioca, like
amazing.
You ride go-karts on. And then you eat the...
It's part of the experience.
Yeah.
Why don't you just use like Twizzlers? Oh, what?
Oh my God. Every straw is a Twizzler.
Yeah, that'd be great for the Twizzler industry.
What was the thing that you said?
Twizzler industry.
It's like the hollow cookie things.
The hollow cookie?
Is it not Purell? Is that not
Oh,
the
like
word?
Oh,
Tim
yeah,
Tams or whatever?
No.
Tim Tams is the Australian.
Not
shower
a thing where you have to like filter
They're
it through
cookies.
the
They're
cookie.
cookie. It's like a cookie version of a paper towel tube.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you
looks-
talking about?
It's thinner. It's thinner.
Yeah,
It's that.
they're Pepperidge Farm ones. It's like, I think it is like a Purell.
I know what you're talking about.
Purell. Which
That's
is
what I
Kevin
said.
keeps saying Purell and asking if that's been...
They're like crisp cookies.
cookies.
Almost. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand now.
I have definitely seen some dessert-style beverages that use those as straws. I
Sure.
imagine probably
I've never
for 2
seen
minutes
them
before they
Before they
become useful.
disintegrate. Yeah.
Well, you just coat it with stainless steel.
Okay.
Or plastic.
There you go. Yeah, nice, wholesome American plastic. Like, let's...
You could get like a
man.
really long rigatoni.
Okay.
It'd be a little floppy.
yeah, by the end of your... If you were drinking marinara sauce through it.
Oh boy. Also, in case I wasn't clear, I am pro doing things for the betterment of our planet, which we have destroyed. I just think
this
that
one's
we're
a
not
real-
doing them systemically enough in
The straw thing is a real dumb,
No,
irrelevant
it's like
waste
taking
of-
off your shoes at the airport. It doesn't do anything useful.
For the environment.
I was like, what?
Yep.
My analogy would be changing your light bulbs, but whatever. That's, do you remember An Inconvenient Truth?
Yes.
Remember how there's a whole list of things at the end that you could do to like make your life more green or whatever?
Yeah.
Someone did a study that found that if everyone on the planet did those things, it would have like a 1% benefit to like, cause it doesn't, you have to do it institutionally. It has to be done systemically. It has to be done industrially. Like individuals make up a very small percentage of waste.
The thing that bothers me is the backlash against the, I guess, what is it, lifestyle environmentalism is at least that sort of creates an environment of awareness. And if we get rid of that, if people just posh it away, I'm worried that we'll just go back to just rampant waste.
My problem with that is that it's the problem isn't that you do that, right?
Yeah.
Like the problem isn't that you try to have zero waste.
That's a big deal.
It's that you think that that's all that needs to be done. So you feel like you've contributed by, recycling your plastic bag that can't actually downcycle anymore and changing your straws or whatever the fuck you're doing. And then you don't think that you need to work on policy and systemic change and, actually doing activism around it.
Okay. I saw, and this was just like some Twitter anecdote. I didn't actually see any data to back this up, but the contention that like of the plastic that is currently floating in the oceans, like 99% of it is from like industrialized fishing, and 1% of it is
50%
consumer
is
waste.
nets and fishing stuff. There was a giant sort of sea survey where they gathered a tremendous amount of the plastic and then characterized it, and about 50% is nets and other fishing stuff. But about 50% of it is
50%
waste.
is consumer waste? Oh,
Well, I don't know if it's consumer
How much
waste,
of it is
but 50%
straws?
is waste. A lot of it is larger plastic things that have broken into small plastic bits that are hard to categorize and classify. And that's actually much more of a problem because that is much harder to clean up, is all the little bits. Because trying to collect a bunch of little bits of plastic from the ocean is rough.
Let's use nets, and then when we're done, we just leave them there.
Can the nets be made of
Just
Twizzlers?
run the
man.
entire ocean through a big filter,
Through a
Just-
Brita filter?
Yeah, just get the largest Brita.
Mount
How did we
Britta.
start talking about straws? Oh, your internet date.
Tapioca
Tapioca
Rider, which got to talking about boba.
All right, let's see what the next game that I played and what kind of conversation that'll ensue. So
I hope it's about
Anyway,
cats.
Tapioca Rider is good. It's like
It is really
it's
good.
like
It's a
kind
lot of
of
fun.
kind of like a physicsy excite bikey sort of thing, but with procedurally generated courses that
I don't know if they're procedurally generated.
I think they are
feel like they are.
seeded.
Yeah.
Because he talked about stopping the scoring at a certain point because after that the levels stopped being interesting, and if he had made them on purpose, why would he have said that or made them?
Yeah,
But
you have a couple of verbs. It teaches you in a good way about what you can do. I recommend it. It's fun. And then the last game that I played was Hiding Spot, which was a sort of game jam game by
Ludum Dare game.
Yeah, Corey Martin, which is a sort of like a 3D Sokoban game where you are trying to deal with your anxiety by sort of isolating yourself inside a single 1x1 cube area by pulling blocks around you. It's kind of adorable.
I saw you playing it, and I could not finish. I could not solve the third level.
There are a couple of slightly weird interactions that you wouldn't expect to work. You can, while you're standing up, so one of the verbs you have is like being able to crouch down, but while you're standing up, if you are pulling on a block, if you pull it all the way towards you and you're up against a wall, you'll just duck down below it.
Huh.
Which allows you to create a little space that you might not otherwise be able to do. And there's a couple other sort of strange things which become actual important mechanics.
What was the Ludum Dare theme? Was like running out of room or something?
I don't know.
Something like that.
Did you try to make anything?
No, I never. The timing never works out, and I'm lazy.
Okay.
I should just try to make a quick basic game the next time there's a Ludum Dare.
Yeah.
It'll be fast. What have you been playing, Anita? Anything that you didn't already talk about?
I think the last game I played at home was Guacamelee 2, which I'm so
What
into.
Guacamelee is, because I feel like I don't really know. I didn't play the first one.
It's a Metroidvania style platformer.
Okay. I'm into that.
And yeah, it's so good. It is one of the few games these days that I want to like actually play and finish.
Huh.
I loved the first one, love the second one. The first one had gender problems. There was like a damsel, and you know,
whole
there's some
works is pretty like appropriative too, right? Like it's
So,
a bunch
okay.
of it's a bunch of white dudes making a game about Mexican wrestlers.
Here's the thing is on my podcast, I went off about how it was culturally appropriative, even though I love it. And then we got in this huge debate about like, what is the line of being critical of things and when is it contributing poorly to society? Then I got an email from the creator who is Mexican. And I was like, fuck me.
Oh.
So no.
All right.
It
well,
is made by a dude who
I
is
heard that
Mexican.
from you, so
Yeah, exactly. I haven't yet. This probably will come out before I do, but issue a correction I gotta say, man, he wrote me the nicest email. It wasn't defensive. I was like, it was so gentle when I totally deserve to be yelled at. Like, and I would accept that without a doubt. So yeah. The art is absolutely beautiful. It looks really good. And one of the things I love about it is that so the powers that you get, the different moveset that you have, some of them are both combat moves and environmental moves. So the same like uppercut you would do to take out a enemy, you'd also do to get to a higher platform.
Oh, nice.
Which is really fun. And then the game also, I have a lot of opinions about tutorial systems and when they work and when they don't and how they can be really exclusionary for new players. This game walks you through, without making it feel that way, each of the move sets and lets you like learn how to move in the world with them and lets you fight a bunch with them. And then it introduces the next one and then you combine the two and then it introduces the third one and then the fourth one. And because it does it that way, there's all these different areas in the world.
Acquire new moves?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't start with everything.
No, you don't. You start with very little. And so that, you have to get to the move to do the thing. So one of the things that in the second game that I think they're doing that's super fun, like pretty early on, is messing with dimensions. So you can control the dimensional change, but before you can actually control it, they do this thing where there's like excuse me, horizontal bars of different dimensions that's just scrolling on the page. So they're either horizontal or vertical, and you have to platform in time to the dimension that has the platform.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Kind of.
So like in one vertical that is moving, the platform doesn't exist. In the other one, it does. So you have to like jump from platform to platform and hook onto a thing and get over all within a certain time.
A particular stripe of level. Huh.
Yeah. And so there's another one. One of them was, so that there's a platforming part, and then there's there is a combat scene. So it locks you into combat moments pretty frequently. And they do that, except it's horizontal floating up. And so the enemies will like move up through the, like depending on when it will move up through the platforms and move back down according to if they're on a platform they can stand on or not. And if they jump up onto the other one at the right time. So you actually have to time your play. And you can take them all out without ever touching them if you do it properly. Huh. So just like really, and this is pretty early in the game. And so every new world I encounter, I'm like, man, the level design on this shit is really imaginative and fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I've been really, really enjoying it.
What are you playing it on?
The PS4. So I actually got really annoyed that it wasn't on Switch because I left town, and I'm going to, like, I haven't played it since I got back. I'm like, I bet you I've forgotten the entire control scheme and have to relearn it.
I hate stepping away from a game that has a complicated moveset and then trying to pick it back up because the first half hour is just flailing around.
I'm very bad at that. And also I'm really bad at playing 2 games or 3 games simultaneously. I can't keep all the movesets in my brain or the control schemes, which was really hard with doing tropes because we had to constantly be collecting footage.
I hate switching back and forth between Switch and the PS4 because the confirm and
the AB
cancel are just backwards, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, that too. And I hate that's a Nintendo thing, right? Like it's worse on Xbox, not worse, but on Xbox it's AB, and on Switch it's AB, but the reverse. So what you would do, which is what you're saying, it drives me fucking batty. Yeah, I don't like it either.
Yeah.
Why? Why did they have to do that? They just wanted to be different.
Everyone wants to be cool.
I don't think I could draw a single controller with the buttons labeled in the right place. Like, basically, if there's a prompt on the screen to hit a button, I just hit all of them until the thing happens, and then I remember, oh, this button does that, and it just kind of doesn't matter that it told me anything.
I played with the Xbox primarily for a really long time, and now I play with the PS4 a lot more, that it just, I have to look at my controller a lot of the time to remember what the symbols map onto. But.
Something somebody asked for kind of as like a throwaway comment on Twitter generically with RPGs was, I want to be able to come back to a game 4 months later and hit a button that's like, here's what you were in the middle of doing, and have like a recap thing. And I was like, that sounds really hard to do from the design point of view, but not impossible. And I wonder if that's something that we could tackle like in our next...
I've seen that, and there are JRPGs that do it.
Yeah?
Yeah. In fact,
is it done well?
I saw one just recently. I can't remember which game it was.
Because a lot of people ended up asking for like a journal, which we had very early when we were.
I think it would be much more difficult in our game, which is extremely non-linear, than it would be for like Final Fantasy VII.
Right. Part of why we didn't have a journal in West of Loathing is because we couldn't figure out what it would be and how to tell what states various things were in. Like, there are a handful of things that basically just became like, oh, these are things that you said you would do that your partner will remind you about, but it wouldn't. I mean, just having those be a list of text in a book, it felt like a waste of
an entire interface element.
Yeah, and just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I get, people want it. You have to give the people what they want. That's true. That's what I've learned.
Do you?
Don't do anything new. Don't do anything exciting or innovative. Just give people exactly what they want, and that's why we're all riding the world's fastest horse.
That's right. People are very good at knowing what they want.
Exactly. That's what everyone always says. Sid Meier says, a game is a series of foregone conclusions.
What about you, Zach? What are you...
I am trying to think if I have played anything new. It's
In
like
the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's like Spelunky, Hearthstone, New York Times crossword, Syncope House.
And then you go to bed and you wake
Wait,
up.
what was the last thing you just said?
Syncope House. It's a Michael Bro game that's all in Portuguese for no good reason. And it's
Wait, somebody's name is Michael Bro?
Brough.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
it's funny. Okay.
He's a very sweet British man who makes very weird roguelike games, mostly on the phone.
Did you ever play 868 Hack by any chance?
No.
Made a game
That
called
might be the most accessible.
Yeah, 868 Hack is probably the...
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
They're good and weird.
Yeah.
But no, nothing new. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Huh.
Have
You're in a
other
rut.
things to do, like
Guess,
build new stairs?
I don't tend to... Well, I just had to sort of stand there, let them use my bathroom while they were building the stairs.
Supervising
because
is so
it's
much
an extra $500 to rent a porta
Did you just
potty.
say you just watched them?
I just had to watch them use my bathroom. That was my job
You
during the
stared at them.
construction
While the
of
door was
stairs.
open?
Yeah. I just stared at them. Yeah. Good.
Would you not want them to use your bathroom?
No, it's fine. I just needed to be there because I didn't trust them to have like the full run of my house without me being
No,
there.
I just meant like they're like either we'll get a porta potty and you pay $500 for it, or we use your bathroom.
Yeah, that was the...
I wonder if there were people like, no, you can't use my bathroom.
I bet there are.
What
Dirty
if
strangers.
the porta potty costs $5,000?
Oh, yeah, maybe that's what he meant. Maybe he meant $5,000 and not $500. Porta potty is an extremely lucrative deal. I think I don't tend to play a lot of new games when I'm traveling. Like, everything that I played was part of, like, something that I did play a bunch of that is very, very good and that I hope turns into a real entire game is a game that was being shown at the Seattle Indie Exchange, which was a sort of a PAX adjacent thing called Foul Damage, FOWL Damage, which is just bad.
It's a joke on fall damage, but
You're an egg. So you're an egg.
Wait, I'm
and
sorry. You don't like a pun?
It's not. It's a bad pun. It's like
a slant pun or sideways pun.
Yeah,
that just
no,
doesn't
it
quite
took a
work.
long time to figure out what it was supposed to be because, okay, so typically you can use FOWL in place of FOUL to make a pun. It's like, this is gross, but it's about a chicken. You know, you're an egg, but foul damage, FOUL, that's not a phrase. So foul damage. So yeah, fall damage is the premise of the game. You are an egg. You can jump pretty high, but if you hit anything on the way up, you die. And if you land from your own jump, you die. Like if you land at the level that you jumped from, you die. And so it is about figuring out a way to traverse these levels by never falling very far and like only ever jumping up to a thing that was a platform that's near the apex of your jump. And then they start to introduce like, here's a place where you can land safely because it's a curved surface and so you'll roll. But it's very, very good. There were like 3 levels that were maybe 5 or 6 screens to traverse each, and it was real satisfying. And I hope it's one of those things where it's like, this is a pretty good concept to have come out of a game jam probably. And I hope that there is enough to do with it to make an entire game out of it, because I think that it would be really good if it was good. That's my hot take on that. We also played some of our friend Seth Rosen, who works out of our office with us now, his game Nectar Vector, which I had just never, like, it had been described to me, but I had never played it. Or have either of you played it?
Mm-hmm. I saw it, yeah.
It's like you're flying around. It's sort of a kind of top down. You're flying around like the planes in Combat for the Atari 2600, which everyone knows, and you're collecting these flowers, and then they trail out behind you like.
And they slow you down.
An arcade game that I really liked as a kid that was like a top-down shmup where your power-ups were these little circles that would start to trail behind you, and then whenever you used the secondary attack, it would consume the nearest one to you for a specific special attack. I don't know the name of it, but it was cool. Anyway, you trail these flowers behind you, and you can consume the flowers to do little power-ups where you go real fast or slow other people down or knock the other flowers off of people. You can fly through somebody's line of flowers to like steal them, and then you can drop flowers off on your side of the board to like pollinate your region. And
You get like a sort of an exponential growth scoring situation for if you drop off more flowers at a time.
I did not know that. That makes a ton of sense why the scoring was not going up in the way that I expected it to. It is a real fun game.
It is. Yeah. There's a lot of strategy to it. It can be 1v1 or 2v2 local multiplayer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of local multiplayer, so we never did talk about that Spelunky 2 gameplay trailer.
Yeah.
But we're not, we shouldn't, because what our listeners should instead do is listen to Nick Sutner and Zach Gage and Doug Wilson and fourth guy, who I don't remember, made a Spelunky podcast that the first episode came out last week, where they go into detail about Nick's experience of playing Spelunky 2 at PAX. And it seems...
and you've listened to it?
I have listened to it, and it is good. Yeah. Sounds like Spelunky 2 is real good. I did not elect to go play it because it was only playable with a controller, and I did not want to play...
How do you play it?
I play Spelunky with a keyboard. Yeah, which is...
He sets a keyboard up on top of a controller and then,
rotates it. Yeah, rocks it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's a Rock Band keyboard that I've wired up to... It's like a challenge mode.
Wow, can you imagine Rock Band with 26 different tracks?
Well, you know the
That's
new...
kind of how it worked. What, 26 like keys on a keyboard?
Yeah.
Oh, like okay, I gotcha. Like
You know the
typing,
new-
it's like a typing tutor.
Yeah.
guitar. I have one from a game that came out a few years ago. Like the updated version of it is actually like two track. It's not just 4 buttons. It's like two sides. How does?
Oh yeah, the
speaking
new
work?
guitar, like a 2x3 grid of buttons.
Yeah, like it's like split in half. So there's like 2 different sides to the track on the guitar riff head,
Whoa.
line head thing. I'm real musical. The neck.
The neck?
The guitar
what
riff head line head, I think, is what they call it.
I'm pretty sure that's what they call it. Anyways, that's the thing that happened that nobody cared about.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and thinking, oh, that looks pretty good, and then I don't know, what am I going to go to a store and buy a Guitar Hero
I would
game?
be happy
No.
to donate this to you
Oh, yeah?
when
Yeah.
I pack
Okay.
up all my shit. I happened to be at an Activision studio doing a talk when that game came out, and they're like, would you like one? And I was like, all right. So that's how I got that.
What platform?
Collusion. That's what that is.
Part of that secret free Rock Band instrument cabal. What platform is it for?
I think I have it for the Xbox One.
Rocksmith just uses a regular guitar.
Yes.
And you supply the guitar, right?
Yes.
Why isn't there more of that? Like, why isn't that the standard? Like, is it?
It's really hard.
Is it really hard?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I don't know.
How does that work technologically?
you get it comes with an adapter that is like a 1/4-inch plug that goes into the guitar, and it converts it to USB. And then
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And then it's just
That's intense.
no.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I bought it on the PC, and that's why I like.
Can I then use it to control any other game?
I don't actually know. I've never tried
man.
just like there's got to be some way to just like get the raw data coming over that USB
We've
as a
gotta support that for West of Loathing.
That would
just
be
a
amazing.
guitar control. Yeah. All right.
So good.
Like if you play Smoke on the Water, he does a cool trick.
Yep.
I
So-
might buy a guitar just for that.
Yeah?
You don't already have an electric guitar?
I do not. I did at one point. I have a ukulele that I've also never used. I buy musical instruments and never use them. I've learned.
Yeah, that's a classic move.
Yeah.
Books you don't read, ukuleles you don't play. It's like
What is that? What is the Japanese word for collecting books that you're never gonna read? It's like toku.
Do they have a word for that?
They
Oh
do.
god, that's so good.
Yeah. I can't remember the name. It's like something toku gayu or tokudoku or something.
that's why you need the life-changing magic of tidying up.
That's true.
Get rid of all those clothes you're not going to wear. I sort of skimmed the part of that book that was about getting rid of stuff during a period of time when I was trying to get rid of a lot of stuff. And it is like 100% about getting rid of clothes. And I'm like, Man, fucking like,
I mean, isn't the
throw away
basic-
all of my clothes right now? That's fine.
Isn't the basic principle like keep the things that make you happy?
Things that bring you joy.
You hold it, think about whether it immediately brings you joy or not, and if not, you throw it away. But everything brings me joy.
I don't believe that.
My
at all.
problem is that I am so full of joy all the time, like just a constant. It's like the universe is a radio.
When
and I'm an
I try
antenna
to
that can
describe
only tune
you
to joy.
to other people, I say, man, Zach is just the most joyful.
You know.
On that note,
Yeah, should we talk about the assignment?
The Messenger.
The Messenger. So The Messenger is a game about a ninja.
Yes.
It's sort of a tribute to Ninja
Are you
Gaiden.
guiding a ninja around?
You're guiding a ninja. You're guiding him through a bunch of levels. Did you say did I say Gaiden and you made fun of me and said that it was Gaiden instead?
well, I made fun of you in that is a thing that people make fun of people
I
for,
see.
not that I actually care that you said it wrong.
I think you mean Gaiden.
Yes, that's exactly what
You're
I mean.
such a well actually-er with video game stuff. So yeah, this is a game. It reminds me a lot of Shovel Knight in terms of its like sort of ambition, which is like we're just making a Nintendo game except with a higher frame rate. And it's real good. The central mechanic is if you hit something with your sword, you get to jump again.
recharges your
in midair. Yeah, it's not quite as high as your full jump, but it's like makes it so there's a lot of platforming puzzles that are just about like, you know, navigating a space where there's like guys on either side shooting fireballs at you, and you have to like hit the fireballs in midair so that you can make it across to, you know, hit the next one and make it to the next platform. It has this sort of turn about halfway through it where it suddenly switches to a 16-bit game, and then you get to a point where you're starting to kind of transition back and forth between 8-bit and 16-bit graphics.
How does that feel?
Mid-screen, I didn't get to that point. I got to the point where you become 16-bit, and then it was like hard enough that it was starting to take me several tries to get through most of the screens.
I couldn't
and
beat
I kind of ran out of time.
dragon boss fight.
I think that is actually exactly where I stopped also yesterday.
It's really hard.
How far did you get into it, Riff?
Not very far at all. I couldn't get into it at all.
Oh.
I mean, it was a foregone conclusion basically because a level-based, skill-based platformer is my least favorite genre. But I don't know, the movement felt weird to me, and the awkwardness of having to have an attack in between your double jump, and I don't know, getting stuck on walls from the grapple claw when trying to jump up a ledge, and just not my thing.
Did you like Ninja Gaiden?
I don't think I ever played much of it at all.
Ninja Gaiden?
I think there was I think we had that in the local arcade, right? But I never played much.
Oh, the arcade Ninja Gaiden was different.
Yeah.
It was more like a brawler.
Okay. Well,
you could
in
swing
that case, I
signs.
definitely haven't, because that would be the only one I would have played.
I mean, the Nintendo Ninja Gaiden games were difficult. Much more difficult than this, I think, but...
Were they very vertical? Like, was there a lot of space to jump and fall with like trees and platforms on the trees? Am I thinking of
You're thinking of The Legend of Cage.
Legend of Cage? Okay. Thank you for schooling me on what I'm thinking of.
Like, this game is good. I don't think I have a ton to say about it.
I'm enjoying it, but it's hard.
It's super cool looking. I enjoyed watching a speedrun of it.
The writing is like fine. There were some like it's trying to be a little funnier than it actually achieves, I think, in a lot of cases. But there were some moments in the shopkeeper interactions where I actually, I chuckled. I would say
Did you chuckle?
I issued a chuckle.
I like that there's a lot of dialogue that you can opt into, but it's super optional.
Yep. A lot of like the shopkeeper every level or like a couple times a level will just have like a story to tell you, and then it's just like some fable, and then you'll sort of comment on the fable and you'll go back and forth a little bit. 100% of the time that I try to exit the shop, I accidentally open the upgrade screen again. Yep. Something about the way that menu works is just exactly backwards to my inclination of what my fingers want to do. So that's fix that, guys. We met like a producer.
I think so. Yeah.
on it. He had cool glasses.
Sure.
It was at a loud bar.
Yep. It was at their lunch party.
Yeah. Because it was like Devolver put on this party, and
Yeah.
you got to go into the special upstairs
I
room
did.
where the cool people were allowed
That's
to be
true.
because you are a VIP.
Because I'm connected. I'm connected to
You
the
are.
industry.
You're a nexus.
I guess.
What would Malcolm Gladwell call you?
Kevin?
10,000 hour.
You're probably right, Riff. Malcolm Gladwell would probably call him Kevin because he seems like a nice, respectful guy. So yeah, that's what we did not do is choose an assignment for next week. We did. Oh
weeks
yeah,
ago.
right.
We're doing Donut
We're gonna play
County.
Donut
Oh,
County.
yeah. Oh, I played that. That's wow. I forgot I played that.
Spoiler: Donut expect me to like it very much.
You'll have to give it
It's-
some more tries.
Charming.
It is
Very
charming.
charming. I guess you're gonna talk about it next week. I only played it a little bit, but I started. We played it while we were live streaming, and I sort of zoned out into it, like I did with everything, which is not a good thing to do when you're live streaming and trying to entertain an audience. But like, it does have that little bit of like zoning out feeling to it. Which
Did it remind you at all of Katamari?
I understand the comparison.
Okay.
Because it's like sort of fundamentally about consuming a small thing to get big enough to consume a bigger thing to get big enough to consume a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, that's kind of what life is.
Sort of, yeah. It's like that cartoon about a fish.
Sure.
Life
Or
is a
the-
cartoon about a fish. That's what Forrest Gump
lady
said.
who swallowed a fly. Mm-hmm. It's like that. Kind of.
You just making shit up, or is this real?
Kind of.
All right, just checking. I never know with you
You
two.
haven't heard there was an old woman who swallowed a fly?
Didn't she live in a boot?
That's a different old woman.
Oh, there's
it
only
might have
one
been
old
the
woman.
same.
Is there only one old
would've-
woman?
she
Just
would've-
the Jungian crone. It's just always
She
her.
lives in a boot. She swallowed a fly, and she has 100 cats.
It's
Okay,
it's a Canadian boat, right?
Shut up. Fuck. It took me a minute. I was like, what?
Yeah, well, lots of old women live in boats in Canada. It's not weird. It's
There's a lot of islands and
perfectly acceptable lifestyle.
sounds.
Funny.
Ugh, God, I wish you would make fewer sounds.
Wow.
Just kidding.
So that was episode 300.
Yeah, that was guys. I've had
44.
Wait, how many episodes?
344.
Holy, you've been doing this 344 times?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people still listen?
Yet it has not just
Amazing.
ever been
Fewer
any
and fewer
better than
every
this.
You're down to 2 listeners.
Thank you for joining
Thanks,
us, Anita.
Mom.
What? Where can people find you? What are you up to? I heard you have a book out.
I do. I have a book coming out October 2nd called History versus Women, The Defiant Lives That They Don't Want You to Know, about women who've been written out of history. You can pre-order it now at historyversuswomen.com. That's VS, not VERSUS.
Okay.
Did I spell that right?
it's not-
Whatever. You'll figure it out.
Historical songs about women.
There's no other book called History
When you're
versus
saying the
Women.
thing it's not, it doesn't matter if you spell it right. So that's the
Exactly.
advantage of
Good point. You can also check out our podcast. It's Feminist Frequency Radio on all of the podcatchers, where we talk about pop culture, new and old, from a feminist perspective. This was such delight. I'm glad you asked me to do this like an hour ago.
I'm glad Jim's not here.
I'll have to.
I'm not really glad Jim's not here. I'm very happy for Jim that he had a cool baby. I'm guessing the baby's going to be cool.
The baby's gonna be shitting and sleeping and
a while.
eating for a
That
while.
sounds
So like,
pretty cool.
I'm just saying, it's not a bad life.
Yeah, I mean,
You keep everyone up all
from
the time.
baby's
I love
perspective,
it.
that's definitely cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd
Although
do
the
that
baby doesn't
again.
really, the baby doesn't really have a lot of points of comparison, right? Last he knew, he was just floating in amniotic fluid.
Unless you're Brad Pitt in Benjamin Button. I don't know, whatever. That was not.
I forget how that starts and ends, and now I'm curious.
It doesn't it end. It ends as a child, as a baby, and it begins as an old man.
Yeah.
But the size thing, it was not good, is what that was. That was not a good film.
It's a good way to, it's like a good thing to be able to reference when you're
Right.
talking about something being backwards.
Right.
That's the only benefit of that. It's like Inception.
You can say, oh, it's like Merlin. It's like the Merlin in the Once and Future King, but nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
No.
So then you say Benjamin Button, and everybody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, that was delightful.
Anyway, this has been a fantastic episode of Video Games Hot Dog, and I hope we do it again real soon. And listeners, I hope you'll join us. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Have a great week, everybody.
Only by working together can we succeed. Each of us has a role to play.